this tour. I've yet to have a set of data go back to my guest that did not have something in it. So again, worst case scenario, you learn how to use some really cool tools that you've never seen before or used before, and you get some cool stories about Charleston, especially locals, that you've never heard before. So that's kind of your base expectation. So thermal imaging, you guys all see me in there, orange, red, and yellow, right? So everything around me should be blue and black. Black and blue are our coldest areas. We're literally looking for those blue and black spots to move on their own. However, this camera will fluctuate based on movement. So if we take my warm temperature out of here, it's gonna fluctuate. That orange, red, and yellow is gonna go somewhere else now. So we kind of have to watch. We wanna try to keep somebody's skin temperature intact at all times, because obviously it's the warmest thing we have, especially in our chilly temperature. So we're looking for blue and black to literally come across something that's orange, red, or yellow is really what we're after here. It does record the entire thing with audio, so we'll have a second point of reference for audio. So with that being said, I'm gonna hand this off to you, sir. All right. So you're gonna hold that horizontal just the way it is all night. If that red square on the left-hand side of your screen turns to a circle, just let me know. That means I have to splice some video together. So I just like to kind of know ahead of time so I know what I have to deal with in the morning. So. All right. We're going to be using several different types of spirit boxes tonight. So spirit boxes do many things, but it's obviously a way for us to communicate with the dead. So what it does is it sweeps through all of the radio stations at a very quick rate. It's that white noise that Zach Bagans tells you what he thinks he heard in the middle of it. We're just doing it in real time. What I'll also tell you is my spirit boxes are slowed down. I want the radio chatter, the song lyrics, the DJs, the commercials. I want that stuff to come through in little tidbits. It's a 50-50 shot that I can probably match it to a story I'm talking about, a person and history I'm talking about, something going on with one of us. It's a 50-50 shot, so that's what I'm really after with this guy. So this one in particular, why it's so different is that it records the entire sweep for us with no outside noise, and even when it's on mute. So you guys tomorrow morning when you get the full recording back, it's one even level volumed recording. So sorry, it's a lot to describe. So there's a lot to go through. So Mom said you were excited about some spirit boxes. You guys are going to be going through the spirit box with this. You have one button to worry about. It's the volume button right there. You're going to control the volume. So obviously when I'm telling stories, I'll say to go ahead and let's get those spirit boxes, turned down because it's recording for us anyway. So let's move on. We're going to stick with spirit boxes for just a minute. We're going to get all three of them out just because they all do something different. So this one is the very popular one you see on TV shows. You guys watch those crazy TV shows?
Yeah.
Okay.
And YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, YouTube. You can't forget YouTube. So this one does the exact same thing, only it doesn't record. So I normally put two people on this. So once I get this guy turned on. So two chatty Cathys over here.
That would be it.
Yep, I figured it was. You two are going to be working together only because it doesn't record. So I need you two to verify what you're hearing. You only have one button to worry about as well. It's on the side of the speaker. It's a button you hold up for the volume up, and then you hold it down to turn it down. Okay, so I'll hand that off to the two of you. And the last spirit box is an interesting one because it's a phone app. So why a phone app and a spirit box? Because it gives us a word in the center of the screen from time to time. So right now it says the word sick, and it just changed to Audrey. So here's what I'm going to tell you about this list. 80% of this list doesn't mean a damn thing. So you guys are going to get this list back tomorrow morning. About 5 to 20% of those words might actually mean something. I'll tell you why it's relevant to the story of one of the stories that I tell, and a backlink of where I got my information from. My gimmick is honesty. I'm not here to make things up. I'm not Zach Bagans. So again, this is the real deal. So I'm going to clear out last night's list because they already have theirs, and we're going to start this off fresh. How do we want to go about this? Let's stick with you guys so that way you guys can use both spirit boxes together. So that way you guys are probably going to stick together as a team anyway. All right. EMF meters. So these are pretty common. This is kind of our first baseline. Something's actually going on. I don't get excited with one device or one spirit box giving me something. So with that being said, this is our first base. TV uses this because it's the most sensitive. Of course, because it measures all three types of electromagnetic fields. The first one's natural, comes from the earth, so it's not doing anything. The second one's going to come from any electronic device, including parking meters and wiring from buildings. It's going to put it into a rhythm or a pulse. We don't want that either. We want this thing to go erratic. So when you see this thing go absolutely nuts, let us know.
Okay.
That's all about you.
Yeah. Okay. It starts acting like my 14-year-old on it.
Last but not least, you guys are going to be listening together as well. So spirit boxes are very tricky devices to be listening to. So we're going to be using a millimeter. Did you guys use a millimeter on your investigation?
No.
Awesome. Good. So, well, first, I was hoping you did, so you could teach me an extra thing or two about it. But this thing does multiple different things. One of the reasons why I kind of paired you up with the thermal imaging camera is because this gives us ambient temperature. So if he sees something, a cold spot in there, we're going to be able to debunk things pretty quickly by using the ambient temperature around the yellow probe here. I also have an infrared thermometer, so if I need to break that out as well to try to debunk some things, I will. But it also gives us an EMF that has hers on there, so we're going to kind of be testing some measurements. But the cool thing is that it has a REM pod built into it. What's a REM pod? REM pod will detect motion. So everybody see the green light on the front that just turned to yellow? So around the antenna is an EMF field being created. So when that EMF field is broken and something passes through it, it obviously goes up. It's very annoying as far as the sounds go. So there's a little, I'm going to go
Wait,
through.
so is that why you're giving me the annoying thing? Because I'm annoying?
No.
Okay.
I don't know that about you yet. Give me a little bit of time.
I'm just checking.
I figured because it
You
does
said you tried to match things up, though.
experience,
Oh,
multi-device. So, obviously we're going to go through the REM pod a little bit more further in detail at our first location. So first and foremost, everybody needs to know that our first location is haunted. Just keep it, that little back flap is open, so I want to keep that open for you.
Okay.
So the first location is haunted. It just doesn't have a long history, so it's a way for me and London to bounce around with all of you, so that way we can show you more tactics about your devices. So with that said, you guys are going to get a lot of recordings back, full word list, full video. Let's see what else, full recording on that, full audio recording. So again, we got a lot of stuff out right now. In the event that, the reason why I'm not breaking out the lasers is because there's not a whole lot of traffic out here right now as far as people and whatnot, which means we're going to be very visible. Lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble. They draw a lot of attention to Nick, and there's laser laws in Charleston, believe it or not. So again, I'm pretty cautious with my lasers. So when I break those out, it's usually a Saturday night when it's hopping and I don't draw that much attention. Let's see here. Let's go right into the, any questions so far about what you guys have? Okay, good, because we're going to answer a lot of that at the first stop. But this location is haunted, of course. That's why we start here. So, how long have you lived here?
I don't know, 25, 30 years?
Okay, so you remember when this was Big John's?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay.
I do.
You do? Okay, so somebody does. So, Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. By the way, Vanna White, you were supposed to be putting this stuff away.
I'm not getting paid enough.
Oh, okay. You're getting paid, so I would... Never mind. So Big John, you also ate dinner today. We won't go there. He used to sit in the back of the bar, folks. We joke around a lot. This is a very fun tour, as you guys will hopefully see. He sat in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets that were coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink. One night, two guys come in, they weren't old enough. Big John tells the bartender, get them out of here. They leave, pretty mad. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's happening, little bar brawl breaks out. A couple of shots were fired, and John gets shot in the neck, but it ricochets and goes back into the wall. He gets up after beating the guys to a pulp, goes back to the bar and tells him, get me a beer, go get them an ambulance. Nobody dies in that story. What's haunting the place? The bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. I don't know that for certain because they're renovating the place. I'll have to double check once they reopen. And I don't know what they're reopening back into it yet. It's probably another bar. But anyway, so people that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, headaches, a little bit of sickness about themselves. I bring this up on purpose, not to scare you, but I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect you. If anybody feels the slightest headache, stomach ache, anything, let us know immediately. We will move on. Everything has pretty much been grounded. It is Easter Sunday for those of you that are, celebrating that holiday today. So take that for what it is. This is not a scary tour. Let's get our minds off our own health, shall we? So I don't like people thinking throughout the whole tour that they're going to get sick on my tours. So we had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that, you do now. So allegedly, this is where the first death occurred from that earthquake. A piece of the mantling broke off in the front of the building, struck somebody in the head, and killed them. Do I have proof of that? No. Just a great story to get our minds off our own health. So, are you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah. Ready.
All right, London's already leading the way. We're gonna head this way. She's apparently ready. Alright, so you guys are going to find out that I love parking lots. Why? Oh, nice. Everybody turn around. You got craziness going on. Is it a rhythm? Of course, as everybody turns around, it stops.
It was.
Yeah, somebody said beauty.
Said beauty?
Thank you.
Soon as we turned and walked in here, started reading beauty.
They're talking about London.
Should have said sarcasm if that's what it's going to refer to. Alright, so where are we? We are at the, back to parking lots. Parking lots allow us to explore more, okay? And I'm only going to take you to A, legitimately haunted locations, or something of historical significant value. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. This is a 50-50 parking lot, 50-50 sightseeing. So apologies if you were after sightseeing. This is not it. So this is the big red barn. This is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. Okay, so for those of you that aren't locals, the horses are still in there. Okay, so we don't want to spook those horses with loud, staticky noises. So if you're going to get close to that portion of the barn, you're going to keep your spirit boxes kind of audible to you only. There's no lasers out and about, so we don't have to worry about spooking horses with lasers. So the only history I have of this building is that this is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk to Charleston. Okay, so we're talking 1860s to 1920s. There's not a whole lot of even detail around that. So whenever I'm telling you the history of a location, I will always emphasize keywords, especially for the amount of spirit boxes we have out. So history of delivering milk and eggs, basically, to Charleston are going to be our clues. So let's talk about those 3 spirit boxes that are out, because that's the massive number. And then we're going to go into detail of the thermal imaging specifically and the millimeter specifically after we send all the spirit boxes folks out. So this is not TV. This is not, is somebody here? Because first off, if you get the word no, that means somebody's here, okay? They're lying, all right? You have a bad ghost. So,
I should be done with that.
so if you guys get real estate commercials that come through on there and the word houses comes through, you think you heard the word yes. We're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long, because those S and O are way too common to mistake for something else. So we're going to start off with something simple. Your entire time with me should be treated as almost a classroom. This is your novice session. We're going to go to intermediate and then expert by the end. So what color is that barn? It's red, right? So we're going to be literally, if somebody's here with us, what color is that barn? Tell me what color the barn is. You're going to listen for the color red and or something that is specifically red. This is a lot of putting clues together. So in case a DJ doesn't say the word red and there is somebody here but they really want to tell us what it is, the word fire truck might come through, or the word heart, or fire itself, you know, those kind of things. Something that is specifically red only. And it won't be like jacket, because I'm wearing a red jacket. It'll be something that we all know is something specifically red. In the event you don't get an answer after 2, 3, or 4 tries, you're going to try a new question, like what's inside the barn? Now we know we have animals, we have horses. They're draft horses, that's their breed. They delivered milk to Charleston, so we have delivery, milk, calcium. Because calcium's in milk, we've had that come through before. They delivered eggs as well, so we've also had the word protein come through. Again, putting clues together to listen for the right things. If you start to hear 2-digit numbers in names, it's usually the teammates from Big John from the story that I just told you. We're still in relevant area to where they can be giving those kind of clues. So spirit boxes, this is where you're going to turn them up and you're going to kind of spread out a little bit so I can work with the thermal imaging team and the millimeters, so I can kind of show these guys how their devices are going to work together. So London, pick your team of who you're going to go help first. She wants to hang out with her own age group apparently. So we are going to stay within the confines of the lot so we can all see each other. So that's always going to be the consensus, so we can all, you know, obviously see who's where. So thermal imaging and millimeter. I'm going to have you guys step over here. Everybody else can go ahead and spread out and start asking questions and see what kind of answers you guys can get. Have you ever used one of these before?
No, I mean I've been involved when FLIR was used.
Okay.
So, but no, and that was not in this sort of circumstance. So.
Okay, fair enough. So I usually get mechanics or firemen or somebody that's used these in the past, and I usually end up, I'm the guy that will like seek them out, like, hey, and when I hand it to somebody, they're like, yeah, I'm a fireman, I use this thing every day. I'm like, beautiful, let me show you how to use it in this situation.
It was law enforcement, and we were using a helicopter to try and find
Oh, that's actually
that
really cool
sort
too,
of
though.
stuff. So,
Well, then you have used it.
Ish. I was on the receiving end of the information.
Okay.
We were hunting something
Yeah.
on the ground. So, but yeah.
So, me talking about skin temperature is almost going to be redundant then, because you can obviously see, you know, our orange, red, and yellow folks that are coming through your picture.
Mm-hmm.
I usually try to tell people, if you're, the example I give is to point it straight at the wall and it'll kind of bleed out to one color. And that's what we don't want, because we really can't see any variance in temperatures or anything passing through there. With this kind of sense, I mean, you literally want to try to keep a person in view at all times. So it doesn't matter who. Just try to keep one person in view at all times. As we kind of move through, I'll kind of show you little pieces of evidence as I kind of go through that. But with the millimeter, with him having the ambient temperature on there, I kind of want to prove a point. So what's on your crosshairs?
Between 60 and 63 is kind of fluctuating back and forth.
And what do you have on your, that's the lower number.
63, 61.5.
Okay, so you guys are almost within the same range. So in the event that you start to see either one of you, technically, because you're about balanced, and I didn't sync them up, you know, even the infrared I don't sync up, just because I want to kind of see where things are balanced for that particular investigation. So that way, if something does drop below another number, if you know, another device, then I know like there's something happening, and I need to either debunk it pretty quickly, because it won't last long.
Yeah.
So if you see a drop in temperature by more than 5 to 8 degrees on either one of your pieces, that's not a person going from obviously 90 something down to 60 something. You know, you want to look for that ambient temperature, but try to have a person in view. I don't have that set up to play with the temperature just yet. I just like having the ambient temperature on screen, so it's just something you have to watch. There'll be no warning.
Okay.
But that's kind of how those two things work together. I used to actually hand out just a psychrometer, which just measured ambient temperature and gave that same person an infrared thermometer. It's not as exciting as having something that's actually going to talk to us, so to speak. So did you get the gist of how the antenna piece worked?
I'd like to hear you say it again, though,
Sure.
just to make sure, because I understand the antenna comes up.
Right. So the antenna comes up, and go ahead and flip it over, because there's a lot more to it. There's 2 buttons on the back. So the button closest to the edge,
Okay.
that's the one you want to click in place. And what that's doing now is it's creating an EMF field around the antenna.
Okay.
Now the other EMF meter that's here, which you're obviously anything above 0.4 on the big numbers, is usually the first green indication on hers. So once it goes up to the second green one, that's kind of where that goes, and that couldn't have been me. So when you're using the REM pod, the antenna piece, you want to try to be as still as possible, or even if you're just sitting down on the curb and it's sitting on the curb by itself, so that way you're not influencing it in any way.
Exactly.
I do have you have to get pretty close to it for it to be able to go off. Now, I wanted to do that on purpose to see if it would kind of go out of balance. You can recheck the balance. When it starts going haywire because you jerked it or you moved too quickly, there's a reset button on your right side. There's buttons on the bottom, right side of it.
On the side over here,
Yeah.
Okay.
So the very bottom button is what'll reset it until you can get it still again. So really you want to just try to be as still as possible. Most of these devices, even yours, these are meant to be set up in a room without anybody else in them and just kind of watch everything later.
Yeah.
So again, with us moving about and kind of rustling around, you know, it's going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it starts going haywire and you can't get it to stop, it's not that something's near you, it's just out of whack. Something's breaking that EMF field and it can't find its balance again, so you just reset it for it manually.
Gotcha.
But again, I'll say go ahead and turn the REM pod off at the same time with the spirit boxes. You'll click the white button on the back and then push the antenna in. Antennas are easy to break, obviously. So yeah, now you can see how easy it is to go haywire. Now if I have that field set up any wider than it is, it just goes off the whole time on the
Constantly.
Yeah. And I haven't tested it at a specific investigation of mine. It's only been on the tours so far. So I haven't had time to go on my own investigation because I've been so busy. But this is an interesting tool.
Which the top number?
Yeah.
Is there a particular number that would you would want me to call out if I see something? Or
If you
was
go
it more
anything
towards-
above 2 point anything,
Okay.
I'm going to be pretty excited.
Okay.
Now, have I seen that thing go all the way up to 25 point something? Yes.
Yes.
And that's where I get super excited because that is off the charts of what she has on hers. So even if you kind of like look at like the measurements, because those colors have little measurements on hers as well,
Yeah.
you can kind of see
Yeah,
with the,
we use those a lot when
Yeah.
we were on the last one.
yeah, those are super, they're too sensitive. So again, we're standing on a sewer line, so there's really nothing to make any of these things go off. We should be at a flat zero because there's nothing electrical around us at all. And again, sewer line, it's not going to make it go off. So if you guys get anything, yeah, it's exciting. But when that thing starts to go up to yellows and reds, that's when I really get excited. Now, if you guys get something that kind of matches up and it's super high, that's when I'll probably call a spirit box over to help you guys out to do a Q&A real quick to see what's going on there.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, have some fun with this. In this particular location, you're going to find too that the camera isn't our cell phone technology; it's thermal technology. So the quicker you move, the more it's going to pixelate.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be one in between our next stop and the next one after that. We're going to be walking a few blocks. I'm not going to have you slow down to try to keep the film nice. Just keep up with us because we're going to be walking up East Bay Street. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm going to go follow up with the other Spirit Box teams and see what's going on there. But she's got a lot of red going on here.
Yeah, let me go talk with
Yeah, I've been trying to keep her in and where she was walking, so
Yeah.
just to see if there's anything else around her. You ever gone out to the Pitt Street Bridge?
No.
Okay.
Where exactly is the Pitt Street Bridge?
Where the sign is for the Hunley sailors.
I know where that is. So what's the story out there? 'Cause-
I saw one
okay,
of the sailors.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, I went to the site in Magnolia Cemetery.
Yeah.
You know where the Hunley folks are all memorialized.
I was with a friend. I'd never been there before,
Mm-hmm.
and I was walking out there with a friend, and she was like telling me that she used to walk out there and run out there when she lived in Mount Pleasant. That's cool. And I saw this great big mound of something just in the water.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Oh, look, it's the ghost of the Hunley showed up." And she laughed a little bit, and we kept walking. And this is dusk, a little bit before dusk. And it was a gray day anyway, so I had an umbrella. And I see a figure in the distance come up from the water, what is it, like landing or something there,
Yeah.
and go across. And it got to the palm tree in the center as we were getting closer to it. And I said, well, and I didn't see him come the other side. Palm tree's big enough.
Right.
So somebody behind the tree, is this a problem for us?
Right. Right.
So to the point that I had the umbrella pointed, because I couldn't see anybody. And I pointed the umbrella there, it's just, so if they popped out, they would run into the umbrella and
Sure.
hold them off. There's nothing there.
I actually
And-
had that happen to me in Savannah.
That's when I saw the monument for the Hunley. I had no idea that's where I was. I didn't even think about it. And I read it and I was like, that's kind of crazy, because the guys, I knew how big the Hunley guys were. This guy was stocky. He was sub 5 feet tall.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, he fit the bill exactly. And it was
Did you get
crazy.
a uniform or anything?
I couldn't tell that. Like I said, he was more gray, and
Sure.
it was a gray day, and it was off in the distance a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I didn't pick up uniform, but I mean, it was a Confederate soldier.
Yeah.
Would have been a gray uniform anyway.
Right. Right.
So he would have blended in a little bit and did. But he was vivid enough for me to think there was somebody hiding
Yeah.
and creating a problem for me. So I reacted that way, and there was nothing when we got there.
Well, being a former police officer, I'm sure that was.
Yes.
I'm sure that was the exact tactic you were going after.
And it was bizarre. And, I mean, it didn't stop. We just stayed at the same pace.
Right.
It was just that strange. And that's why I asked. I mean,
So one of the reasons why I got that thing was because I was down in Savannah doing a couple of like quick museum trips, quick investigations, just to have stuff recording. And I go out to take the dog out the next morning. Of course, we stayed at a haunted hotel. My wife wasn't real happy about it, but that was her romantic weekend
There you
that
go.
she asked me for. We're gonna go ghost hunting all weekend. She's got another one coming up in St. Augustine in September, so I got to plan that one out. But anyway, so I take the dog out the next morning, and we're just walking. I hadn't had my first cup of coffee yet, and all of a sudden comes this guy dressed up, period dress, colonial times, goes behind a tree, doesn't come out the other side. And the night before, our tour guide tells us if you see somebody dressed up in the morning or in the daytime, it's usually a ghost, because the tour guides, they dress up at night. They're not getting dressed for the day like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, that was my first thought. Like, he was clear, color, white shirt, blue pants. Like, I could tell you exactly what he was wearing today. Like, and he went in one side of the tree and not out the other. So me and the dog booked down there. I'm dragging this little dachshund behind me, and I'm looking for this guy. And it's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. There's not a soul on the street.
It's a little eerie.
It's fun for me, though.
You know? And I was never one or the other, but I can't say I don't believe that's the case now, because, well, I saw something. I know I saw, to the point that I was defending myself against it. So
Well, I tell you, it's nice to hear something local, because I get all these folks from all over the country that want me to come visit their state, and I don't always get a chance to go visit other states. You know, if I go on a family trip or whatever, there's usually a stop along the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I just did Gettysburg last summer. We're going to St. Augustine this, you know, in the fall. But I don't always get a chance to just go ghost hunting. And if I do, a lot of it's local. I'll check out certain areas, you know, Francis Marion Burial, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
If it's a little out of the way, it's still an hour drive for me, because I live in Somerville.
so do we. That's what
Oh,
we.
yeah, that's right. You guys said
Yeah.
you were in that area. We're probably neighbors. We probably don't even know it.
Probably
I live
so.
right behind a Walmart on Dorchester.
Okay, and I live almost to 17A.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're probably up there near that. What's the name of that neighborhood up there?
There's River Birch and Waterside Landing. I'm right across the street from the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, I know where you're at. All right, let me follow up with these other teams and see what they got going on, and then we'll go learn some real history.
Perfect.
All right, ladies, how we doing?
Up to a 0.2, 0.3.
Yeah, you're kind of ringing up there, aren't you?
I told her it was a stud finder.
And then I went, beep.
And it went off.
Every time I walk by.
But where most,
Well, the thing I was concerned about was like everyone's cell phones and like smartwatches and things like that.
yeah.
You know, we had our phones ready until we turned them all off. And I didn't wear my watch either. We'll just set that mission. Can't tell if it's me or if this is going off because I'm moving. You know?
Well, you weren't moving.
I moved that time.
Did somebody walk across the street behind y'all?
No.
No. Okay.
Are you guys getting stuff over here that I didn't even know about? You
Um,
see anything over there?
Well, they walked off from me, so that everything was kind of changing colors. It was going more to red.
Uh-huh.
Like the trees red now, so that's an obvious thing. So I was trying to get closer to them, and I saw a third head that was red across the street, but they don't see it, and I didn't see
never
anything
saw anybody walk
pop out
across
the other
it.
side of the tree.
Okay.
So,
Well, as long as it's on there, I'll see it in the morning.
yeah, well, there you go.
Cool. Awesome. It was funny when somebody thought they saw something peeking around the corner of like that wooden area, like where the wood boards are. And I looked at the video this morning and didn't see anything. So I don't know what they saw, but we're gonna find out. You guys ready to learn some
And it could have been you moving, and I just lost sight of where you were on the screen. So,
And again.
Thank you.
I say that every time I see something. I won't be talking all night.
how would you change now?
Like I said, I got this because I'm the annoying one. London knew that right off.
What?
That I'm the annoying one.
There used to be a jersey hanging up in that window right there. You know, the hockey jersey. I can swear that last name was Gary, which is the name that showed up on the digital spirit box. So that'll be interesting. I'll have to go through, because it came up again at another investigation I did. I'll have to look into it to see what that was. So, welcome to the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion site. Yes, another beautiful spot here in Charleston. Another parking lot. Says battle? Alright, just pay attention because there's a lot more to that.
First said plan and it said battle.
Makes perfect sense. Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew, signers of our Constitution. So a pretty big deal for Charleston. If you guys noticed too, we met at the corner of Pinckney and East Bay Street. You guys are looking further down, but the Pinckneys are a pretty big family here. So I hate politics though. I don't want to talk about all of that mess. So we're going to talk about Eliza because she was way cooler and there's a lot more history there, I think. So Eliza married Charles at a young age. I'm not going to be giving you the answers like what color is George Washington's white horse kind of thing, like what we did at the Red Barn. Okay, so with the story, I'll emphasize key words, and then I'll give you some odd suggestions that you can either use those questions or you can hopefully use that to inspire more questions, however you want to do about it in this live. So, but she married Charles at a young age. I won't tell you what that number is. Because her father thought he was dying over in England. She didn't want to go home. He wanted to see all his kids one last time. So she got married and said, Dad, I'm staying put. They didn't give her citizenship because this was mid-colonial times. There wasn't such a thing as citizenship just yet. It just said, hey, Dad, I don't want to go anywhere. And Dad, he got better. So Eliza was right. He didn't die. So he starts sending over wedding gifts. Now, Eliza was a botanist, which means she basically worked with plants, right? So one of the things he sent over was indigo. Indigo is a crop that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of us are wearing it tonight. That's how we still use it today. Only certain denim companies still use it. But indigo is pretty prominent here in Charleston. It was perfect timing because our rice plantations were starting to go downhill. We needed another cash crop to kind of take over for the colonies. So Eliza experimented with it here, and she took it over to Steve Farm in Mount Pleasant and kind of grew it all over there. And then she calls Dad up and says, hey, I need some contacts to be able to sell this stuff. It's expensive. We can make a lot of money off of this. That's exactly what happened. Again, colonial times, businesswoman. There was no such thing as a businesswoman in the mid-1750s. It just wasn't a thing yet. So again, Eliza's done a lot of things for our colonies, and pretty much indigo saved all the colonies, not just Charleston and South Carolina, but all 13 colonies during that time because of the amount of money that they brought to the States. So Eliza has some weird facts about her, so I'm going to hopefully spit these out and you guys can get some inspiration, or you can feel free to use those questions. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. Both Elizas go by their maiden name. They both start with L. That's all I'm going to tell you. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. So in relation to how old she was, what did she die from, where is she buried, where did she die, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So usually people go after that question first because it's very interesting to see what answers come up. You can ask what happened to the mansion. You can also ask how many children she had. So again, don't poke around too hard with those kids. There was a tragedy there. If we poke around too hard, all activity will stop. She does not like to discuss it real in detail. If she does it on her own, she does it on her own. I've seen that before too. Your EMF's been going crazy since we got over here.
Yep.
This is a great place for you to definitely test out that mel meter. As far as the spirit boxes go, again, we're going to spread out. We will spend about 10 minutes here trying to come up with answers. And of course, I'm not going to leave you hanging. So before we leave here, we'll gather up again, see what we all heard. And again, me and London will bounce around and kind of make sure, you know, we're getting the right things or we're getting anything at all. If we see that there's nothing going on, which has only happened 4 times in 2 years at this location, we will move on pretty quickly. We don't want to waste time. This is a grand finale for me kind of area. So, but again, there's much more to do after this, so we'll get to that. Questions, comments, concerns about this location? All right, so nobody has any lasers to worry about on vehicles for car alarms. The lasers I have are strong enough to set off car alarms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like they're pretty intense. So let's have some fun in here. I'm going to actually show you some evidence while we're here because the evidence I have is from this location. So spirit boxes, let's go ahead and crank them up. Make sure they're loud enough where you can hear them in here. We're not disturbing anybody. And have some fun. So let me show you some evidence. It actually took place up in that corner up there. Right, I've been waiting to show the evidence until we get to the spot so it makes more sense. And your other tours don't talk about these places that I go to. It's one of the reasons why I do it that way.
Makes sense.
So I haven't, like when people have their cameras out, like I pass out a camera, they all get their own folder. So that way they can pull up their evidence specifically. Pull up that evidence. There. So there we go. So this is up in that corner up there. You can see the wall in the background. There's 2 living people, just like what we talked about over there. That's why I was like, oh good, I can show them the video. So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, and there's going to be 2 dead people walking the opposite way, going right about there.
Yep.
So I tested it frame by frame with a fireman. I sat down with him. I said, let's go through this and you tell me, could it be a car? He's like, no, a car would be too far away. He's like, I'm looking at the distance. The one fella, he's always in the picture right here, so I have his skin temperature. Whatever was going across was definitely at least 25 degrees colder than a normal skin temperature. So again, it's one of my best pieces of evidence as far as a cold spot. I have more of weird things moving around that shouldn't be. I actually just have to separate them. They're from 2 weeks ago. I just haven't had a chance to do so. These tours keep me pretty swamped, dude. They really do.
I'm sure they do.
So between going through the evidence in the morning, I go to college too. So like,
where are you going?
Southern New Hampshire. I do everything online.
Okay, I got you.
So like I'm finishing up this master's degree, which means I got a new book coming out at the end of the year. So I'm trying to wrap that up. You know, the tour stuff. I get interviewed. I'm getting more interviews for like podcasts and stuff that are finding out what I'm doing down here. So another one just launched today that I did before last week. So it's like preparing for those interviews. It's a full gig, dude. It's crazy.
I'm sure it is.
And
especially with this, we had that conversation on the way down here. He said, I know Baltimore's an old city, but it doesn't seem that way because of all the new construction. Everything's in steel and glass.
Right.
But here it's not like that. A lot of these structures have at least have walls that were here in colonial times.
Right.
You know, so it's a huge difference.
It's at 25.
it said what?
25.
Oh, he's at 25?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're going nuts too, huh?
Yeah, she's going
That's new. All right, I'm gonna kind of stay back a little bit and see if.
You don't have spare bots to kind of tell you, but you can ask questions using the REM pod as a. You know what's funny is they've never done a dig here. Never. So there's no electrical lines, no anything. Try to reset your base just so that, look at that, it just stopped. stuff like that where it's unexplainable. And I was about to tell you, they've never done a dig here, so there's no electrical wires, there's no anything underneath here. They're supposed to put a commercial hotel here. It's supposed to have been here already. But we'll see what happens over the next year or two. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. One of the things the wife and I want to do with this is actually turn it into a shop down here.
Yeah.
You know, we sell ghost hunting equipment and focus on the paranormal and then have a haunted hotel upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought about, I'm going to go up to the top. What we thought about was, what if we came here and rebuilt the Pinckney Mansion as best we could based on pictures and descriptions, and turned that into the shop and kind of dedicated it to the Pinckneys.
That'd be outstanding.
It would be, but we're looking at about a $20 million project.
Yeah.
Just because I would want the archaeological dig here too, so I can have the artifacts inside the building.
Well, I mean, the building codes would require you to put down foundations that would pretty much require that sort of.
Right.
You'd have to get in the ground, so
Right.
you might as well do that before you start.
Right. And then again, how much of it actually belongs to the city? How much of it can I keep? You know.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of code there. And it's not like I don't know how to run a business. You know, I was in retail management for over 20 years running stores, multiple stores. So, and the wife was the same thing. So I walked away to do this. But yeah, that's the goal, is to actually have a shop down here within the next 4 or 5 years. So we're also looking at do you know where Bocce's is? Over by the market, next to Tommy Condon's?
Yes.
We're looking at that building too, because of course we wanted a haunted location. You know, so that way the haunted hotel upstairs would be legitimate. You know, we're not going to just say, okay, good luck exploring. You know,
Exactly.
let us know what happens. But yeah, your EMF, like,
Yeah.
going crazy. Is it matching the numbers that he's coming up with?
Well, when we're together and
Okay. Okay. As long as it's matching when you guys are together, that's because you'll be in the same exact spot. That would make sense. That's what I'm trying to figure out, is because that doesn't measure all 3 different types. And they don't give you a whole lot of information about how millimeters work. So I've been doing a lot of experimentation.
Gotcha.
All right, let me see what's going on with these spirit boxes.
All right.
I scared it away. Yeah.
Stay with me for a second there. Back up to 5 again.
It's car right here. But you're probably walking around the cars lawn.
That is true, Ben. Some of these car alarms actually have a sensor on it.
Sorry?
The car may have a sensor on it as well.
Yeah, as I was walking away, the number was going up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's cars on the street going by. That's have y'all been over to that corner over there? That's where he was showing me a minute ago. They saw something. Apparently he's all over something. Apparently he's all over something.
They should be.
Hmm? Now, I will tell you this. That thing has got, if it's measuring magnetic fields, power lines are notorious for that, and they really get out, depending on
What was that?
power lines put out a lot of magnetic
Yeah, I
fields.
know.
So, but you weren't near that in the center of the lot, and that's where you are pretty close.
That's why I took it off when you first came in. So it's just like you saw it standing right there alone.
Yeah.
When do you got the
Huh? 58, 60. 58 to 60.
What's your father's name? What's your favorite?
I didn't check the word list while I was chatting with you guys. What do you got going on?
Yeah, right before we walked in this one, it said, and it said, watch me, did that, and it kind of didn't do anything for a while. And then all of a sudden, just in the last few seconds, it did. The Alliance understand and direction.
When used to be here?
The battle plan definitely makes sense. At least with one of the sons. So,
How many people live in the mansion?
500 millimeters.
Oh, wow, just now to the post.
Oh, look at that. Right on the damn bottom.
What is your age?
Yeah.
What was your husband's name? What was your husband's name?
Yeah. It was like stage. If I yeah.
Yeah, because there's a spirit box up there.
Just now when you asked about it, not for the main track, I was almost there.
Yeah, because there's a
Every
spirit
time I
box.
mention going to that corner,
Something what?
We'll find out what happened up in that corner. I'll get close to them spirit box close and see what happens. See if they're hearing anything. That is a touchy device.
Both of them are pegged out right now.
What's that?
Both of those are pegged out right now.
Yeah. I'm making sure that the person that gets the device that he has,
Mm-hmm.
like, they're pretty tech savvy. There's a lot of buttons on that guy that they have to use to operate it. Like to reset it, shut it off,
Mm-hmm.
you know what they're reading on the screen.
That's right.
Like, it's not going to a kid, I'll say that. That
Depending
one.
on the kid. There's some of them that
I
can
think
take
I've only
apart.
given it to London once so far, just so she can kind of get
gotcha.
used to how it's, and half this stuff used to be hers. That's the funny thing. But she's got to continue to learn why this raw data makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't always go through the data with me in the morning, but when she does, I can see the boredom there. I'm like, kid, this is half the fun, is discovering what's here.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled them out of that area over there because that's where the slave quarters would have been, and I can't prove anything. So if they're getting anything that's coming through that spirit box, I can't prove it.
I got you.
Because there's no records. There's a few of their names listed here and there, but that's not enough for me. I need something a little bit more in depth.
I got you.
So that's why I was like, London, take them closer to that corner where the actual mansion was. Because, I mean, I've had things come through back there, but I just can't prove it. That's the problem. Really wanting a few more terms to come through. Last night it was hopping in here. All 3 spirit boxes were going berserk with stuff that I was able to prove.
Huh.
And again, I don't know what the paranormal activity is going to do. Just here to monitor it all.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat stuff. Yeah, I keep seeing, I do see cars go by.
Yeah.
They can pick those up. So, but I haven't seen anything else moving in the background like that. So.
Well, really what that is it's just available at the ready. So
Yeah.
as long as you're filming all night, you're not going to see what actually comes through.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's why we watch it on a big computer screen, or sometimes we pull it up on the TV to watch it. And I'll just skim through it. I'm not going to go through all this data. That's half the fun for you guys. I only go through it for about 2 hours. So right now you guys are recording probably about 6 hours worth of data. It's
Yeah.
up to you guys to go through it and have fun with it. I just give you all the links and the stories again, and make sure that you guys have some markers to learn how to listen to that spirit box and things like that.
Well, now, if you want to go to another place where we have seen things, Cumming Tea Plantation, and up near Mott's Corner, it's in the Hugie area.
It sounds familiar, and to be honest with you, I probably passed it going to the Francis Marion burial.
If no, this will be on the other side because that burial is over on the St. Stephen Pineville side. That's
Right.
what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? This is on the if you go through Mott's Corner and then take 402 out and then head to 41 out
Okay.
towards Hugie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about 3 or 4 miles before you get to Hugie.
Okay.
Oh no, it's Kiki.
And we went out there. We took the 14-year-old, much younger, fishing out there, and we actually came upon the plantation. So we got out to look around. That's just a shell of the building. She saw somebody in one of the windows of the door and took pictures of it. And while she was doing that, I heard metal plates banging behind us in the woods. And I just told her quietly to get the car we were leaving because I didn't know who was coming.
Sure. She's young.
Well, I'm talking about my wife was
Oh.
there. But she's the one who took the picture.
Okay.
And we got in the car and she said, "What did you see?" I said, "I didn't see anything. I just heard what sounded like somebody." I never saw anything. But I heard that about the same time she was seeing it. So you can ask her about it. She has a little better recollection of that than I do because, like I said, she saw the faces.
Right.
So, but there's
She
another
has photographs.
location for you.
There's photographs. People send me stuff all the time because my wife, that's what she went to school for, is photography. So she can always tell me if something's going awry with the camera or somebody's cell phone camera or whatever.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
showed it to her aunt. Her aunt just took the picture and sent it to her electronically.
Right.
She said, "You really saw that?" She said, "Well, of course." She said, "I see what you're talking about. I can see it."
Yeah. Of course.
So-
It's
so-
that obvious. It's,
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So,
Well, I love the locals. I can move them around.
yeah. Does your phone have the Cumming Tea Plantation photos on it? So,
If they do, they're so far back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah. A lot of activity right here, too. temperature is always dropping, so the baseline is getting lower. And depending on what I'm pointing at. You having fun? Absolutely. Your baseline dropping too on the temperature?
I'm down to 59, staying there.
I'm between 57 and 59.
Did he ever tell you what happened? What he thinks happened in that corner?
No, not he hadn't said anything.
And earlier I asked what they were calling it.
It's not red. That does match up to the barn.
Red is the barn, but not her.
Funny, a lot of people want to ask that question. My group last night asked that question.
Did they?
And it's usually the same answer.
Yeah.
It's purple, according to Eliza. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and turn those spirit boxes down. Kind of show you what we got going on here. They think they heard the word plant on there, which of course matches up to Eliza's garden being here. They also got the word chemical about the same time, and also the word garbage when they were standing over by the dumpster. So nobody got any specific numbers or anything crazy like that? No?
Just now it said out, and now it said heel.
Heel?
Heel.
I thought it said 45, but I don't know about that.
I thought
Okay.
I overheard one saying 25 as I was walking by.
25 is not relevant, but 45 is. So Eliza got married at the age of 22, and Charles was 45. There was 23 years between them, so the number 23 has been showing up here a lot too, because there's so many years in the difference. Eliza died at the age of 70 in Philadelphia from breast cancer that we know of in 1793. So again, we didn't know what breast cancer was yet. We're going based off medical records. That's also where she's buried, Philadelphia. So if that doesn't answer the question of why we don't visit cemeteries, I don't know what does. If you were dead, are you going to hang out where you're buried? Probably not. So, the president. Anybody want to take a guess since nobody got any answers?
Johnson.
Nope.
I thought I heard Johnson.
Washington.
Washington.
Oh, Washington.
So the
That
number
would
one
make sense.
comes up here, first comes up here, and the word wood or wooden, because Washington had wooden dentures. So again, that one actually came up last night that you weren't on. So we get those clues because George Washington is a lot of syllables to try to spit out of a spirit box. And a lot of this stuff, guys, I learned from doing the tours and going, why did George Washington show up in my tour? And then it happened a week later. So I'm like, there's got to be a relevant term there. So I looked into it. He was the pallbearer at the funeral.
Huh.
So again, stuff you learn from doing those kind of things. It's all about the research. The mansion burned down in the Great Fire of 1861. So when I say Great Fire, in Charleston, we have dozens of Great Fires. It means that it took out whole neighborhoods, or like this one went from Peninsula Coast all the way to Peninsula Coast. The building just happened to be in the way. So the number 61 is obviously significant, and it was after Eliza and Charles's death. So the house was still in the family, it just burned down. It's been many things since then. They're supposed to be doing a commercial hotel here soon. It's already supposed to be here. But the battle plan, why I was excited about that, I was hoping the name Thomas would come through, because Thomas actually led the Battle of Camden, and he would have created the battle plans. So I was hoping he was one of the sons. Eliza had 4 children, Thomas, Charles, George, and Harriet. So I had all of their initials show up last night, which was really cool. I mentioned Thomas and Charles, but then you get the letters G and H, which would have been George and Harriet, the 2 kids I didn't mention yet. So it's kind of like Eliza saying, you forgot my other 2 kids. So I think that about covers all of the questions I kind of, gave to you guys. Did you guys ask anything else that I should know about? Who was the favorite child? Okay.
We also asked, what was your favorite snack? How many hot things do you like TikTok? Are you on sweet or spicy things? Yeah.
London, come on.
I didn't ask that one.
Those are not relevant terms.
But it did say chocolate. But it did say chocolate. So
It did say chocolate.
Sweet and spicy.
Well, we did ask what it did, and it said chemical.
Yeah. And again, I'm taking the chemicals as part of her, botany experiment.
Right now it's saying criteria.
And then we asked what happened to the mansion, and it said...
Not saying accessible.
Some things.
Stuff happens.
Well, we got spikes on the millimeter all the way up to, what do you say, 75?
70, 72.
72. That's crazy. I've only seen it as high as like 25, 26. So, yeah, 72.
Oh, I got it like 130.
you were on the wrong unit of measure, if you recall.
Yeah.
So, thought you established that the other night when that happened.
You're all a little dumb.
Alright, so we're going to walk up to Lodge Alley. It's about 4 blocks away. Your EMF and millimeters are going to go crazy just because of the parking meters. The electrical lines for those are underneath the crosswalks and the sidewalks. It just makes it go nuts. Spirit boxes, if you want to continue listening along the way. Listening for names. I'm just not going to tell you which names or why until we get to the location. Also, where we're going is considered a quiet location. So we'll be kind of, like when we get through the alley, you'll definitely turn it down to just audible levels for you guys only. So again, we're going to be walking next to a hotel. So, but let's go check out some crazy cobblestone
Any
streets.
significance to 30?
30.
Well, that just all of a sudden came up 30.
I'm running the birthdays in my head right now of all the kids, and I can't think of anything right now, but I'll definitely look at 30. When a number comes up, numbers don't lie, right? So that's usually the first thing.
It
Numbers and
spelled
names.
out 30. It said accessible, and then it said 30.
Honestly, I'd have to look into when Harry got married. And at 30 years old, she would have been considered an old hag. So, I'll dive into it, see what I can come up with. Oh, he did get the word tin, by the way, when we were back at the Red Barn. Like, that's very significant because that would be considered tin back in the late 1800s. So, alright, let's take a hike. Let's go see what else we can come up with.
And this.
Yeah. That's where the fire was. So when it came across the road, they took out this entire car.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to tell what remained, but for the moment,
You showed me the color.
It was a sausage wrap. At the dock center? Not the candy shop. We did try the candy shop.
Yeah, I know. Said I break something quickly.
He probably has.
How old are you?
How old did I look? That is great. That's great.
I'm really not ready for this. It's that way.
Magnolia's upper level down. So you have to enter this from here?
I've only had lunch at my here.
Somewhere up north in South Carolina, like it's in the middle of nowhere.
So welcome to Los Valley, everybody. Any names that I know of? Need to pass through, bud? That's okay. I know you're here for chat. Anything on your spirit box? We got this one?
I was listening, but I didn't hear anything.
Okay, so this is where people used to live. So these two big buildings that we see here, they weren't here. So they were people's shotgun houses. So I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here. The common names I normally get here are Benjamin and John. Granted, there were 4 Johns that lived here in a 60-year time span, but it's very ironic when I get Ben and John together because there was 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. And then we've had John's last name show up quite a few times too, which was Johnson. It also gives their occupation. So like baker, mariner, grocer, seamstress, those kind of things are on that list as well. So it's not a census list, but it's more of just a list of people that lived here. This is also where the Masonic Lodge was before it was residential. So we get the term Mason here a lot. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. So you guys are walking on obviously some clay bricks. I also want you to keep in mind that the strip in the middle, there's a misnomer there that these were the way that they were laid on the ship, and that's exactly how they laid them here. These are just laid, separately in the center the way they are for drainage. That's it. So don't let another tour guide tell you anything different, because there's sewers in between. But when we crossed that last crosswalk by High Cotton, that was the original Charlestown walls. So Charlestown walls, this is one of the first streets. So you're now inside the original Charlestown. So the wall would have been across the street on East Bay, and then of course going up Cumberland Street, which is where we're going to head up to next. But these people were considered lower class. That smell of low tide coming in off the water, like they did an archaeological dig here. They found some of their tools and silverware, and they were able to consider them lower class, and they did find some of their clothing and evidence of fires. So again, lots of things happen here. So anything come up on your word list over there?
Yeah, I mean, when we turned down this alley, all up the Main Street there, it just said jurisdiction. And then when we turned in this alley, it said angry. And since we've been standing here, it says marine, and the word game has come up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll take it. So marine would probably.
And the word upper.
It's definitely not upper class unless they're angry that I'm calling them upper
It
class.
said jurisdiction upper, and then we turned down here, it said game, and then it said, as soon as we stopped, it said angry. And then
probably standing
and
in
it
somebody's
said
front
start
yard.
saying marine.
Probably. So you know I got Johnson back in the parking lot.
I thought you were guessing. Because I just said anybody
Well,
want to take a
I
guess.
thought it was Johnson that they said.
Okay.
I wasn't guessing. I thought that's
Gotcha.
what I heard.
Okay. Again, Johnson.
Maybe he
quite a
was
bit.
down the road a little bit.
Might have been. And again, sometimes it just, they preempt it. You guys gotta remember, I'm out here 6 nights a week. Sometimes, and especially in the wintertime, 2 nights, or 2 times a night. So that's 12 times I'm passing through these places a week. They know me by now. They know what questions are coming.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So again, it's not surprising when I get things ahead of time or a
Yeah.
little bit later.
Okay.
So,
Because
just
I wasn't just pulling Johnson out of my head.
yeah, that's what I thought you were doing. I'm
heard.
sorry.
No, no, it's fine.
But just
It's fine.
now,
I thought-
came up the word Brooklyn.
Any pictures?
No, I doubt it. Well, they would have gone up to New York, but Brooklyn wouldn't have been a thing yet. All right, so guys, we are going to pass through the rest of this alley. We're going to be walking through a neighborhood where tour guides are not allowed to be tour guides. We're just allowed to pass through quietly. So I'm going to get us to our next location, and we can all start chatting it up again. Definitely keep those spirit boxes low. Sorry about the vehicle in the way. It's not supposed to be there. But we're going to try to pass by it very discreetly so we can cut up through. I hate to take you guys all the way back down and around. So we're going to cut through here, try to find a good side for this car to go back.
I'm still back here. You ain't lost me yet. I wonder how you were good at holding the phone for this long at a time. Huh?
Must know you had expert practice.
Hmm?
That building.
What about it?
You represent them.
Oh. Cool. Up here on the left side, as I was walking, if we go up Cumberland, there's the old powder. They go up there, powder barn or whatever the house, powder house. All right? Something And you said it's supposed to be a square, right? Yeah.
It's where everybody gets to kind of chill for a few minutes. All right. Well, you guys are next up.
I'll let you
I
get
wasn't
close.
sure if we were going to see a whole lot of people. You're pretty hot. Yep, she's going to go straight up to that church where she's going to tell a very short story and maybe stretch out for like 15, 20 minutes. So, did you guys all notice the gorgeous alley that we walked past? So that is Philadelphia Alley. So tourists aren't allowed to go through there. But I'm going to tell you the story anyway because it's an awesome story and a lot of evidence has been coming through quite a bit lately. So it used to be called Dueller's Alley. So duels as in take 20 paces, turn and shoot. That was the kind of duels that happened. If everybody notices there, there's something in my way. There's something in my way. I don't know what they got there in the middle, but there's a doorway in the middle of that wall back there. So if there was a death in a duel, the dead body would come through, not obviously the ghost, but they would pick him up and carry him through the courtyard and take him over to the cemetery, drop the body, and then go celebrate the winner. So that's why that doorway is there. I always encourage you guys to walk through Philadelphia Alley because it is gorgeous, and of course there's a story there. It is really loud. So, let's talk about this duel. There was a doctor from Rhode Island that moved down here because he was supposed to get married. Have you ever heard this story? No? Okay. So, it's a very common one, that's why I asked. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting you're from here too. So, have you heard the doctor story?
I don't think so.
You guys haven't taken enough ghost tours because everybody
We've
does
done a
this
few.
stuff. All right, so he moves down here. He's supposed to get married. His fiance Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So the attorney handling that money thinks that the doctor's just after her money, and he says send the doctor away, have him start his practice somewhere else. He moves to Charleston. The coachman that brings him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So not a very good start to Charleston, but somebody walking by sees what's going on, a local, his name's Ralph Isaacs, and he says, let me take you somewhere else. Let me take you somewhere safe. He takes him over to 59 Church Street. We're on Church Street now. It's about a mile that way. So the two become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off while he's here. He's making lots of money. Amanda's going to be moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Okay, so they say as you walk through there, you can hear the doctor's whistles. But let's get into a little bit more about the duel. So him and Ralph used to go see plays together, but because the doctor made so much more money than him, he got better seats. So they had to sit apart when they were at these plays. They go see William III one night from Shakespeare. Don't ask me which theater. I have no idea. There were dozens during that time period. But they talk about the play on the way home. And they start arguing about the new actress that's in town. Sorry, he's distracting me. So if I'm stuttering, loud tour guides get on my nerves. Can I just say that out loud? So anyway, the doctor loves the new actress. Ralph does not. They start arguing. Then it turns into an insult party where Ralph is insulting the doctor's fiance back home. He's never even met the woman. So obviously they get pretty pissed at each other and they go their separate ways. Now, Ralph's from here. He has ties to the newspaper. So he calls his buddies up, puts an ad in the paper about what a disgrace the doctor was to the city of Charleston. So, not very cool, but the doctor sees it and says, let's go to Dueller's Alley, we're going to settle this. So, they come down, take 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. Ralph still has one shot, and he takes it out on the kneecap of the doctor. So he didn't come through the death gate. Instead, his friends pick him up and they carry him home to 59 Church Street. And that's where he dies 10 days later. So when you walk through Philadelphia Alley, they say you can hear the whistles from the doctor and or gunshots from all the duels that occurred there. So, but again, it's a gorgeous alley, and I've been getting a lot of evidence. The doctor's last name showed up on a spirit box a few nights ago. I've been getting the word duel, competition, shot, all kinds of things have been coming up a lot lately. And I normally, it's not even part of my tour anymore, so I stopped telling the story for quite a few months because there's so much more that goes on in this corner. But the story he's telling is very quick and simple. There's a sign right inside that gate of the cemetery where he's standing by. It says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost. obviously for the church. There's a reason for it. 1888, Sue Howard Hardy died 6 days after her stillborn child. 1987, local photographer takes a picture through the cemetery gates and captures a full apparition of a woman wearing a shawl and a baby basket next to her over that particular grave. It's 1987, so there's no cell phones and Photoshop and all the mess we have now. He sends it to Kodak. Kodak can't debunk the picture either. I would show you what it is, but of course it's cursed. There's a lot of females here. Actually, there's not many males at all. So females that hold a picture get the same type of symptoms I told you about at Big John's. So pregnant females that hold a picture, probably not going to have a good pregnancy. You can imagine my occupation, I'm very superstitious. I'm not going to curse my Torah. Nobody's calling me 9 months from now and saying I was the curse of their baby. So if anything comes up on your spirit boxes and it's relevant to that story, I will put a warning next to the link for you to look at that picture. So that way you're not clicking on it and going, oh, I wasn't supposed to hold this picture. So again, I'm that particular about this particular story. But that's the story he's telling up there that he's still telling, and I've already told you 2 stories. So there's more to this corner. Kenzie's laughing at me. So there's 2 sides of the cemetery. So the side that we're on now, this is the east side. Obviously the water's that way. This is for native Charlestonians. That's for everybody else. Your 17th Vice President, Calhoun, he's on that side. So they didn't know what side he was supposed to go on. They literally picked up his sarcophagus, I don't know how many times, I think it's 3 in the room, and went back and forth across the street, trying to figure out where he was supposed to go. So you can visit that side during the daytime. They're still doing renovations to this side. Been doing that for over 1.5 years now. I don't know when they're going to finish, but it's a lot of work to keep up with these old headstones. Everybody see the burning gas lamp off in the distance? All right, so that's the pirate house. Somebody lives there, hence why we don't go there. Don't go in his backyard, he'll chase you out. Don't ask me how I know that. So, I know, right? Just making sure y'all are paying attention. So, you can't miss that place. It has a big anchor on the front of it. That's why it's called the pirate house. That's where Blackbird's men would come off their ships, and they would meet up with a few ladies, have a few drinks, and they also dug a tunnel from the pirate house 1 block that way over to Dock Street Theater, where they would meet up with some girls because there was prostitution there. They also worked there because there was like plays there. It was called Planters Hotel then. And let's face it, pirates know how to tie knots really well. That's make a few bucks, gold pieces or whatever. London's loving that because that's what she's learning in drama class right now, is how to tie all these pirate knots. Yeah, so London taught me something, guys.
Good job, London.
Yeah, smart ass taught me something. So, we're going to do one last investigation across the street, but I kind of wanted to preempt you guys with the whole pirate story because we're going to be diving into a very famous female pirate. So let's do one last final call and go across the street, and let me tell you that story.
I've been here when there's been a second one. I've never been here when there's been 4, what, 5? That's crazy. Now I want to walk up to the pirate house.
But I thought it was probably talking about that, those people, maybe, but maybe it's talking about because they were kind of, and you were telling the story about the plan. Maybe, it was. Sounded like it.
Now, last night the word competition showed up while I was telling that story. That duel is definitely a competition. So, and again, that was on the word list that he had. But you said you had a bunch of
Just feel
words
like
pop
it
up.
lined
So
up.
what did you
Yeah,
get?
when we sat down over there, I had a bunch come up. Distribute, audience,
Yeah, 60, 61.
report, plan, journey, accessible.
All pretty vague. Really vague stuff.
So
Unfortunately.
now from that alleyway where that car was parked until we got here, I only had one thing coming up, and it was on one corner, and it just said bag.
All right, so let me give you the story of where we're at and why we're here. Okay, this is a good 5-minute story. So this is where you guys get to ask whatever questions you want on your spirit boxes and kind of experiment, especially with the millimeter here, because it's very interesting. So we're going to be looking at the powder magazine, which is a building over here with the crosses on it. Those aren't crosses, those are earthquake bolts. So for those of you that aren't from here, earthquake bolts, the gist of those is after our big scare in 1886, they would put these bolts through either the roof or the floors of a building. The building behind it, which is an apartment building, also has earthquake bolts through every single floor. They're just not as noticeable as those big cross-looking ones. The gist of that is if it gets quaked again, you can turn those bolts and it'll stand the building upright again. Okay, so these are literally the first set of earthquake bolts that we put in Charleston. That's why they look so crude. And when we get closer to the building, you'll see like they're coming off the building. They're not cut the same shape or size, or length for that matter. So you'll see that how crude they really are. This building is the oldest government building we have on the East Coast. So it was finished in 1713. Keep in mind this is not the oldest building we have in Charleston. It's just the oldest government building. So 1713, it's also 3 blocks away from the water and just in the corner of the Charlestown walls. This is where the Charlestown wall came up. And then it went about half a block up that way and it started going down towards the battery. Okay, so now you're still inside the original Charlestown walls. I'm going to take a step back just because I'm having a hard time with the mask. So with that said, it's in the corner on purpose.
We're just doing this thing.
If it were to ever get attacked, those walls are 35 inches thick. If it were to get attacked and that cannon goes through the wall and hits the gunpowder and it blows up, they're sanding the roof from 1712. The sand will go up in the air and it's supposed to fall to put out the fires. Now, you think that's a great smart idea, right? Doesn't work. So we had another battery, or gunpowder magazine, down by the battery. So that one blew up. It was too close to the water, much closer than what this one is to the water. And the sand fell, but it was unable to put out the fire and the whole building burned to the ground. So, great theory, just doesn't work. However, this one's never been attacked, which means the sand from 1712 is still in there. It's still in the roof. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Sand doesn't disintegrate. Now it's a museum. It's about a 30-minute, 5 minutes, or $5 tour. Really cool thing to see all the different wars that it served in, which there were 7 of them. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. During the time that this was built, 1703 to 1713, there was a young lady that moved into town. 1708, 1709. Again, a lot of holes in this story. She moved here from Ireland. Her name was Anne Cormack. She moved here with her dad and his mistress, which happened to be her mother. They moved here from Ireland to get away from the man's angry wife. So this woman was pretty bitter for them to move here in the early 1700s from Ireland. So kind of take that for what it is. They get here, mom dies shortly after. So it's just, you know, Anne and dad. Now, during the time period that this was being built, she sees it being finished. She turns into a teenager. Pirates are coming through town. She falls in love with one of them. His name is James Bonny. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. So what does she do? She moves to Jamaica. She gets married. Anne Cormack is now Anne Bonny. So Anne Bonny and James are down in Jamaica, and he is not the pirate that she hoped he would be. She wanted the Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow kind of mentality, badass pirate. That wasn't James. He turned out to be a privateer, which means he was basically a spy for the British. So not very cool of him. So what does she do? She falls in love with another pirate. We're on guy number 2. I'm going to keep a tally for you. So she falls in love with John Calico Jack Rackham. Calico Jack was a new up-and-coming pirate, and he now has his own ship that she wants to be part of. Females curse pirate ships. So he says, you can be part of the ship, just dress like a guy. She's game. Why not? She wants to be a badass pirate too. So she joins the crew. She dressed like a guy. She's allowed to dress like a female in his quarters, of course. And eventually she gets pregnant. So what does he do? So he can't have a pregnant man on the crew. So he drops her off in Cuba to go have the baby. She has the baby, comes back, no baby. We don't know what happened to that child. And she's dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. So Jack is mad. So she goes downstairs below deck to go flirt with the pirates that he just captured. So she starts flirting with this young fella, and he reveals his gender as a female, dressed like a male, to be part of the pirate crew that she was captured by with Calico Jack. So the two become friends. Her name is Mary Read. She convinces Mary Read to become part of the crew, and they are now friends. The British fleet comes in to attack the ship. All of the other pirates are down below deck, too drunk to come up and fight. So it is literally Anne Bonny and Mary Read taking on the entire British fleet. Obviously, the ship gets captured. All pirates were hung, after their trial, except for Anne and Mary. They get tried a week later because they were the only two that fought back. So the Chief Justice, his name was Nicholas Laws, another Nicholas. He wants to see them separately. They reveal their gender, that they're female. He says, I don't care, I'm still going to try and hang you for piracy. Then they pled their bellies, which basically said that they were both pregnant. He said, fine, we'll delay your hanging, but you're still going to hang. Dad's still here in Charleston with all his Irish money. He's able to bail her out of that Jamaican jail. She comes back to Charleston, remarries, has 4 children, and dies at the age of 84. Apparently. Some stories say that she moved up to Virginia after she came here with her rendezvous with Dad. Mary Reed died in a Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. There's really no information there. So,
You rhyme.
I know. I'm a poet and didn't know it. So, ask whatever questions you guys want to at this location. I'm interested in EMF readings because this is normally a dead spot. So if you guys get anything, I kind of need to know what's happening and where. Spirit boxes, ask away. You can also go visit the front of the building if you like. We're going to collect devices like back at the side just so that we're out of other tours' way because they won't do the investigation thing like what we're doing. They're just going to visit the front of it and they're going to move on. So if you are up there with spirit boxes, just kind of be respectful. The other tour guides don't like me because my group's so loud and noisy. So, but have some fun here. Turn up those spirit boxes. I brought us to this corner on purpose because that particular camera has been acting really funny in this corner, and it kind of goes what's going on with the red spirit box. So last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, there was only 3 or 4 people on my group, and somebody's filming me and the person with the red spirit box. A white shade comes over the person with the spirit box. The spirit box immediately stops working. We walked out of this corner. It turns back on and is already in record mode. What you guys saw took me 3 buttons to hit to get it to go to record mode. I can't explain it. I bought another spirit box thinking that one was going to be broken and had a backup. So those things aren't cheap. So it's kind of like I had to get it rushed here too, just to make sure, because that's a big piece of your investigation the next morning. So it's been fine ever since. So the spare one is a spare one. It is what it is. So again, that's the insurance is for, right? That's right. Let the insurance pay for it. So let's get those spirit boxes turned up. I'm curious on your millimeter to see what you get here. Let's have some fun. Looks like the girls are like London jumped over there as soon as she saw the story was going to be ending. But yeah, let's get close to that building so you guys can see those earthquake bolts too. Do you know anything about this building, Dave?
Just I knew it was the powder magazine, and basically that's all I really recall about it. Now that's been on a couple of tours, but I don't recall too much about it.
Right. Everybody ties, they talk about the history of it served in a set of different wars and things like that. And to be honest with you, I didn't even want to add this to my tour because I got cut off going through Philadelphia Alley because it's residential.
Yeah.
So, and then I used to take people to the Wagner building across from the Vending. Do you know downtown pretty well? Am I talking about places you know?
No. I ain't talking about Vendor is over off of.
Did your temperature drop walking back here?
No. Well, it's at 56 now, yeah.
It's weird. I feel like it's warmer up here than it was.
I was
back
at 61 up there, and it dropped down to 57 back here.
Yeah. It was like 62, 63 up there on this. And
He's getting a reading on the millimeter, on the REM pod.
And now but it's kind of pointing towards her, so it was at a 67, 68.
I would test it again and go back to where you were, like both of you, and kind of see where your temperatures go there, and then kind of come back.
See, I'm still at 63 though.
And what are you at?
I'm at 58.
53 and 58. Or 63 and 58. So it's a 5-degree difference.
Mm-hmm.
I only noticed it because it seemed like it dropped 3 degrees from that side of the parking lot to this side of the parking lot.
It's weird. I mean, there's lights over there, not so much over here, but that's not going to make a 3-degree difference.
That won't make that difference.
Again, I got to look at all aspects.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, see when I turn? 57.
Over the leaves. The leaves
Yes.
are going to be cooler than the asphalt, that's for sure.
So there you go.
But he's got ambient temperature.
I'm at 54 over the leaves.
Okay. But his ambient temperature shouldn't be doing that.
Shouldn't be.
Were you and Mary
Yeah, because I actually felt the difference when we got warmer.
I felt like it got warm over here versus where we were.
Yeah.
Because we're not away from those windy spots.
Away
but I
from
think
the water.
Yeah.
I'm not getting to breathe.
Yeah. It's usually a few degrees warmer up here.
So yeah.
Okay. I want to take a look at that word list he's got again too.
I got you. Yeah, I knew the one about Washington because he spent the night over off of King Street, Meeting Street, right down here.
Well, he spent a lot of time with the Pinckneys when he was here too.
Exactly.
So
Because they were very prominent.
yeah, well,
Family.
Pinckney was governor too.
Yeah.
He only had 13 governors. So
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he was here, I think, 2 times. I'm not sure.
one time that I know of, possibly twice, I'm sure it was, but
Yeah.
I think the
And
one.
one time he stayed over there. So,
Yeah.
And that was the big one they talked about.
Right, yeah, it was like 11 or 12 days here.
Yeah.
I just bought the Charleston Almanac, which is Revolutionary War to the Civil War, and it's literally a day by day of things that happened here. So
Wow.
whenever I get dates and shit, like it's a giant book, and this guy, his name's Mark Jones. He knows his stuff.
Wow.
So that's why, like, when I seen he wrote an almanac, and then he's going to do another one from the Civil War to current times, I'm like, man. Like, I like the Revolutionary War to Civil War because obviously that's where a lot of the stories are that I tell. But if a date comes up and it deals with the Pinckneys, I can find it in that book by a few pages.
That's
like
crazy.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like, I love that book. But it's just a reference. You know, I'm not reading it cover to cover. You know, it's not one of those. But yeah, it's an interesting read for sure. Like, if you're just interested in, like, you can look up all the Pinckneys and see everything they've ever done, and they'll show up he'll give you all the pages just in the index. It's a great book.
The reason I know that about Washington is there's a tour of the house that he stayed in.
Okay.
I actually came with my ex-wife and her family down here. My brother came, and we were like, we walked in there,
Yeah.
and we started reading everything because it was interesting, the history of the actual people, and Washington had written letters and thanking them for allowing him to stay
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. That was incredible. It's in his hand. So, yeah, they're just
I'll have to, because there's so many more tours I have to take, different houses, you know, and trying to tie things up to all these stories. But I listen to a lot of podcasts about Charleston's history too. So I find like weird little stories, you know, around like things around the tour. So if you wanted to know more about Dock Street Theater and what it used to be, and Nicholas Trott and the Chief Justice that was here and all that stuff, like I got all those little tiny stories. They just never add up to what I'm doing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything else crazy?
No, not crazy. I went back up there, and the temperature went back up.
What is it now?
When I got back up there, it was at 59.8.
Okay.
Then as we walked back, I got down to 58 flat.
I was gonna say I feel like it's colder right here.
Yeah.
And then I started walking away, and the temperature started going up again over here. So I don't know if it's there or
We're
what.
also on the other side of the cemetery. That's what that wall is. The wall to the cemetery.
That would make sense.
It's dead over there.
No pun intended.
You got air EMF? It's usually that-
Yeah, because I had dropped down to it hit 54 just a second ago, coming up to where you were.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. The temperature is crazy.
Yeah.
What's under the building?
Now you are under a light and probably power going to it. So yeah, there's a line right over your head.
It was, when I first flipped it on over there, it was kind of going a little nutty, but I was right beneath the transformer.
Yeah.
Action. You had action and you had under.
That's crazy. Those bricks are missing out of there.
It sounded like somebody said crawl space.
I don't know that there is a crawl space here. This is South
I wouldn't
Carolina.
think so either.
Especially close to
Sounded
We
like
did
it.
get,
You'd be surprised what
But
crawl
now it
spaces
just
are.
says tool. We did get
Over at the
chains,
up
we
top.
got the word father.
Oh, and we did get hiding and sneak.
Oh, well, those are interesting. Like, where did those come
Yeah,
from?
like this just came up tool just a second ago.
They're calling me a tool? Damn it.
We got hiding and sneak, and then it sounded like crawl space. And then it said under.
Because even the other stories I have around this corner, like, none
Yeah.
of that stuff makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we were talking about crawl spaces. So
The over at the
Snake,
federal
regard,
courthouse
father, poor,
on
change,
the Broad Street side.
under, action, mandate,
The
tool.
at the far end of it, there's a gate, and that's part of their parking lot. Well, the building next to that actually owns a piece of that parking lot, and they decided they wanted it back. So they had to dig the post up for the gate that was there, and then rebuild a gate. And when they did and started knocking down into the ground to put the new post in because they had to make it more substantial, they found a hole, and then they unearthed it, and it was a cellar.
Get at it.
It was, and there'd been parking lots on it
Yeah.
for how many ever years. I'd been there for 5 years at the time, and it'd been there long before I got there. So it was just, and then
They still have a dirt floor?
they didn't excavate it. They just they sealed it back over and put the parking lot back. You know, it's like,
Well, you know they
that
found
makes
another
sense.
piece of the wall across the street on East Bay Street.
I'm not surprised.
And it's right at that new place, like when we go down Cumberland, you'll see it right there on the right. They just put a whole new sidewalk there, kind of like that broken slate that we have.
Yep.
They just put all new there and just covered it right back up again. Leave it there.
It's amazing what they decide to look at and what they don't.
Right.
I don't have any idea
That's
how
the
they choose.
Charlestown Wall. Why wouldn't we take a chunk of that out?
Exactly.
Like, I know we can see it from the exchange in the Provost dungeon, but still, that's a part of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1670. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. But commerce takes.
Yeah. Trust me, I have to follow all the crazy tourism laws. I know what I have to do.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
So we just, like, we had 3 words just like that. We had leather, soul, and rally.
I don't know that I've ever seen leather come through.
And while this gentleman was talking and telling his story,
Yeah.
it just like, looked like a brick wall. Red, and those 3 words, leather, soul, and rally.
I'm like you said, hiding and sneak. Yeah, where's that all from? You know, like how does that work? How does that fit into where we were? That's why there's timestamps on it too. So I always see where we were at with that. But it would be, I always have to look at it because there might be a few of those 80% BS words in between something that makes sense. So it might be say hiding, Johnny Joe, tree, sneak. So hiding and sneak obviously are tied somehow. Right. So how or why? Like that's my job.
And was he a suspect?
They were all
Was he a
suspects of
suspect in a crime?
They were all. Yeah. All looking suspect. I'm looking for something a little bit more not so general. Yeah. I mean, I've had the word calico show up here. Calico Jack. Yeah. You know, that's not a word you hear every day. No. Obviously I've had Jack show up, the name Mary shows up, and Mary was also the name of Anne's mother. So the mistress, her name was Mary Brennan. So and then there's Mary Reed. But I've also had the word Reed show up here. We've also had the number 28 show up here before because that was the date of her trial, November 28th, 1720. So when I remember that, I started giving this part of the tour November 28th, 2020. So that night I had the number 300 come up, I had the word trial come up. I didn't even believe the news story. So I'm like, let me add it. So we're not on that alley and there anymore. So I started bringing people up here. Interesting. Yep. So very cool stuff. Yeah. But we'll see what comes out of the recordables things. How did you die? The girls are asking odd questions. So we'll see what they come up with and the things that they didn't hear in real time and when it was on mute. Right. So again, I don't go through the whole thing. I don't know if I told you, I only go through it for about 2
How do you
hours.
feel
It's up to
about
you guys to
like
do the rest. Oh yeah. Especially my two tour night deal in the wintertime. It's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Yeah, especially if they're full groups.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's right. They were the ones that somebody else, right? Or was that you guys? No, it was them. Yeah. Okay. So, how did you want me to handle your extra ticket of the person that didn't come? You want?
That's just someone else. I don't expect anything out of that. That's fine.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I'm willing to do a refund.
You had a spot and we took it, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
So.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Well, I kind of figured. No,
But
I mean,
I'd like
it's
to at
not,
least give you the option.
yeah, it's not really fair to you because I made a mistake on, it's my stepdaughter. I thought we had her. It's
Gotcha.
a holiday, and it
Yeah.
ended up, I read it wrong, so it ends up she's with her dad.
Yeah. Like she lives with her mom in Myrtle Beach.
Gotcha.
Right. I know the routine.
So, and I'd already bought the tickets when we realized we'd made a mistake, so.
Oh, you could have just called me. I would have fixed it.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, we had already taken the spot, and I've got a 27-year-old that we thought might be able to come when she got her schedule. She couldn't take it either.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, I had to wait so long to be able to be sure one way or the other for everybody involved.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I wasn't going.
Just, I don't know if you, I mean, you notice how small I keep the group. I cap it out at 10. So if it hits 9, I shut it off.
I got you.
Like, I'm not that money hungry guy.
Yeah.
You know, where,
Well, I didn't want to have taken a spot that you could have sold somewhere
Right.
else,
yeah.
and
I
then
get it.
you
I
not get
appreciate
paid for it. So that's not right. So.
Okay. Well, again, I won't argue
Hey,
with it.
I like helping starving artists.
I'll be honest with you, I do pretty well.
Well, I'm sure. This has got to be a good deal, you know. And it's interesting work too, you know. I mean, I
found another group because somebody said they took something similar to this in Savannah. And I said, okay, I dove in because I didn't think anybody went to the lengths that I do. And it's called Truth and Evidence. And they hand out a few devices, not anything to be like the millimeter and stuff. They basically go K2, a thermal, and something else. And it's not even a FLIR thermal, it's the cheap one, like the one I wasn't gonna get because it's too cheap.
Gotcha.
And they don't record anything. So you guys part ways, they're charging you $40 a head, and then you go about your merry way, and you don't have any evidence to go through.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I gotta keep on top of this because if somebody's gonna get wind of what I'm doing, somebody else is gonna take this idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was telling Ben, is that he was talking about dowsing rods or something on another tour he took. I'm like, I don't do anything mechanical. Everything I do is electronic. I don't want anybody's feelings to go into it.
Yeah.
It's all about the data. But
Well, if you talk to people who use dowsing rods,
I've never used them.
they fight in water with them.
Yeah.
Up in Monk's Corner.
Oh,
the
really?
Country people up there.
Yeah.
That's how they dig wells. And where my folks dug a well when we first moved into the house. I grew up in Charlotte, South Carolina, and that's how they found the water.
I've never used them.
And you don't believe it, but
I just feel like people can manipulate it.
well, you know what? If you can, and you hit water every time,
Yeah.
because you pay them to do it,
Yeah.
you must know something somebody else doesn't.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't know how it works. I just know that it does.
It's basically all on EMF. That's how they're being influenced. It's how the EMF flows for it. So I know that those answers and crossing and they open up and all that mess, you know, on how they use them for tours and other investigations because they're short. But I don't want to put, if I give a set of dowsing rods to a 15-year-old kid, they're going to be, woo, look at him go. And I'm like, yeah, that's nothing. I can't prove that.
It's probably like magnetic fields, same sort of that kind of thing in water when it's moving, depending on the content in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
If it's running across anything, it's got any alkali or metallic
Yeah,
base
especially
in
if there's
it,
metal base in there, especially in the soil around it.
it would create an electric field.
Interesting.
So,
Never thought of it that way.
but it works. I don't know how it works, and I don't know anybody else that does it anymore. I just know that used to be, and even when I moved to Monk's Corner back in '87, you could still find somebody to do it for you.
It's an interesting job to have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me gather everybody up and see if anybody's heard anything. Girls, what have you heard over there?
We've heard Mary.
Okay.
We heard Mary. We heard. I don't remember. We mainly were just joking around with it. You put me with another teenager. We were talking a lot about
got a point.
trackies and.
But she's normally really good with keeping it
Okay.
on point.
It's two teenagers. Two teenage girls. We kept asking what's tea.
I will tell you that the entire time, these two have been the hottest spots on here.
Uh-huh.
And when she was standing over there and the machine was going off, she was completely white.
Okay. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't think we heard anything.
Because if they're like the white lines that I had come across that last video, it made no sense at all.
At one point, it was just a white. It was like an exclamation point.
Get out of here. Okay, that's good.
And they were standing right about 5 yards back further away.
So how far ago? How many minutes you think?
Probably 7 or 8.
Okay. Just so I have an audio point of what to look for.
Thereabouts. I mean, I don't know exactly.
Sure.
So, obviously, since I've been standing here, and I ain't been here that long.
Okay. All
I've
right.
been tracking around with everybody.
Yeah, I have been kind of bouncing. Have you guys heard anything or got any new words?
Drone and child.
We'll take trial. That's for sure.
Oh,
What'd you get?
we asked how many people she married, and we got the number 5.
5.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Yeah. Yeah.
Cinco.
Yeah.
All right, any other terms that you heard out of your peer box?
Cinco. Cinco.
They heard the name Mary come through. So it just seems like it's pretty light tonight. And you did get kind of like a blip that came through on the REM pod, right? When it, like a little bit of motion when you were over by the cemetery part?
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest thing was just the temperature change, and that continued every time I went back and forth. It kept dropping every time we went back.
And I want to say like that thing will record and give me graphs and data, but I didn't want to get into all that by giving it because that's a lot of weird sciencey stuff you guys don't really want to go through.
The only other time I got numbers is when I was along the edge of the power line.
Yeah, that would make sense. All right, I'm going to start collecting, and you guys can start asking any other questions that you have for me in London. London's going to ask you about weird teenager stuff because that's the mood she's in. All right, so yeah, let me take that from you. It is recording the entire night. London's going to give you guys my card so you guys can check out the website ahead of time. And then, of course, the folks that booked your tour, just one video? You didn't have to...
One.